Hello, everyone, and welcome to my 100-day project, day 11. Today is our first day of watercolor, and I am using my Roman Szmal Aquarius mixing palette today. I really love the Roman Szmal watercolors. They're beautiful. They re-wet fabulously. You don't have to pre-wet them. Love. And for my first watercolor 100-day painting, I thought I'd do something kind of fun and do a self-portrait of sorts, but kind of a cranky face and just my eyes. So I'm just having fun today and kind of getting back into watercolor. So typically when I use watercolor, I'm using it as an underpainting. And I'm usually doing it intuitively and just playing with color the way I do with inks, etc. And every once in a while, I will draw with watercolor or paint with it in a more traditional way. So I thought today I would go ahead and do that. And this was actually super fun. I really enjoyed it. It was quirky and interesting and so fun to get back into using watercolor this way. And I felt the learning curve, y'all. Like it, not that acrylic ink and the way you use it is too terribly different in that you need to let layers dry and things like that. But I had to really remember, okay, not too much water on the brush and really be mindful of my water and letting things dry and getting those darks. So there's no black in the palette. So I was mixing, I want to say it's like a raw umber color. It might be goethite and the ultramarine blue, which makes like a nice kind of dark, almost black color. So that is what I was using for my dark, and doing very rudimentary measuring. You kind of saw me do that with my brush at the very beginning, sort of measuring my eye and doing an equal distance on the other side. My glasses aren't really even, but you know what? My face isn't really even either. So I'm not too worried about it. Just really having fun and enjoying this palette. This is a great mixing palette, and I'll pull out a few different palettes as I go probably, but this is the one that I have up here in my studio upstairs. So that's what I grabbed today, and that's what I'm using. So I've got some funky little brow lines there just to, the world is a crazy place right now, if you hadn't noticed, which I'm sure you have. And so I've been making this face a lot lately, like, really, is this what we're doing? So it just felt appropriate to kick off watercolor with this. And even in this palette, I'm using a pretty limited set of colors. This is the phthalo green. I used some of a warm red and a cool red and an orange, and there was a titanium buff in there, and I think that's it. So I didn't really use a lot of colors. Whenever I paint myself, I have an olive complexion, and I joke with my daughter, she has an olive complexion as well, that we're green people because the undertone of our skin is green. And so I will often use that as a fun sort of way to depict that. So a lot of my people that I paint often have like blue skin. It's a color that I really love to use. I love to use it with shadows and things like that. And so I added a little bit of like a yellow, and then I layered in a little bit of an orange on the warm side of my face, and then I like to have one side be more the cool side. So I layered in some shadow with just some blue that was on my palette that I'd mixed up before. I don't usually clean my watercolor palettes. The mixing trays, I kind of leave them and reuse those colors, and you get some really great neutrals that way. So I'm just adding a little bit of titanium buff here to add some highlights into the irises of the eyes, and then being careful to not get too much water on my brush and add in that dark rim around the iris. And at this point, really what I'm doing is I'm just layering, I'm building up values, reacquainting myself with this palette, playing with some of these colors, reminding myself how these blend and how they mix. Layering that orange over that green kind of gives a fairly decent skin tone, actually. The green's pretty strong. And here I'm layering a little bit of that blue on more of the shadow side of the face. Building up those shadows a little bit. I'm reminding myself that watercolor will dry lighter. So I'm building up those shadows slowly, letting things dry while I can. Adding a little bit of warmth on the side where the light might be more present. I don't have a really strong light source. That's one thing I want to start doing better and more often, is just punching up my light source a little bit more. So I'm adding, I mixed up a purple, and I'm adding a little bit of that purple on the glasses just to give a little bit of shadow there. And I'm adding in some orange and some burnt sienna on the eye, and a little bit of that phthalo green to bring in some shadow. So I'll add in a little bit more of that Titan buff, or buff titanium, I forget what he calls it, just to give a little bit of highlight. But layering those colors works really well for brown eyes. I tend to use those colors a lot for brown eyes, and I'm layering a little bit of shadow under the glasses. Again, just building up layers, adding in shadows, making my darks darker. Getting that eye a little bit darker in the corner. I probably could have gone darker there. That Titan buff works really well. It's a nice mixing color, making the outline of my eye a little bit darker and adjusting the shape a little bit. This was really fun. It's just fun to let loose, not worry too much, and enjoy the process. So there it is. I'll call this one WTF. That's my WTF portrait for the day. Thanks for joining me. I'm excited to go the next 9 days with watercolor and keep diving into these mediums. I hope you're having a great day, and take care of you. And thanks for joining me. Bye.